This conference will now be recorded.
All right, good afternoon and welcome to the Clear Lines training session. I am your host, Kipp Cohen. Today is Thursday, the 11th of July, 2019. This is a twice weekly training session every Tuesday and Thursday, 3 o'clock Eastern, geared for the subscribers of the Clear Lines indicator running on the Medved Trader platform. This session also Sorry, the session is also made available to those that are interested in learning more about the Clear Lines indicator. The session is recorded and will be posted to the YouTube page for my other business, equity-alerts.com, my alert service. We post it there. If you have questions, you can send those through the GoToMeeting player, through the chat box. You can also email me directly, kip@equity-alerts.com, or you can text me on my cell phone, 972-841-8886, whichever is easiest for you. Obviously, the quickest and easiest method for me is to get a question through GoToMeeting. But whatever you're comfortable with, I don't mind. Just to let you guys know a little bit about me, I was with WiseTrade for 17 years before they decided to close down almost a year ago. And to fill a void, I developed the Clear Lines indicator with a developer that used to work for WiseTrade. We originally were going to put that indicator on the TradeStation platform and decided to work with Medved Trader instead, just because a lot of reasons. Their platform was available to the Ally Invest users at no additional cost, and they were very responsive to our needs, which was important. And it turns out we really love the platform. They turned out to be a great partner of ours. So we're almost a year into this and very happy with what we have so far. They've been very responsive to our needs. They've been very responsive to our customers' needs, and they're just great guys to work with. The only disadvantage for some of you guys is that, well, two things. One, learning curve is a little steeper than the old WiseTrade platform, but it's pretty quick to learn. And if you don't have an Ally Invest account, there's an additional $20 monthly fee to utilize the Medved platform. That's in addition to my monthly fee. But besides that, man, it's awesome. We love it. We love that we can include additional indicators with the Clear Lines. We love we can trade through the platform. We love that it is customizable. It is a modular platform, meaning that all the windows can be moved and they lock. You know, they snap into place, but they can be moved around and resized to fit whatever your personal trading needs are. So with that being said, are there any questions? Any questions today? Any stocks you'd like me to look at? Any, you name it, we'll do it. I'm here for you guys. On Tuesday, we kind of did a full overview of the platform. We spent some time on the scanner, so I don't want to focus on that today. And we can just spend some time looking, just evaluating charts and looking for trade ideas, if that's something that you guys are open to. Would that work for you guys? We can just focus today on, even though I hate the last hour, but we can I hate trying to trade in the last hour, but we can definitely look at some charts and use the indicators that I use and see if we can find some trade opportunities. If that's okay. Yes, no, maybe. You're not sure? Again, guys, I'm here for y'all, so I just need to know what you want. If not, that's what I'm going to do. Okay, well, that's what we'll do today. Let's see. I'm going to switch my layout. So that's, again, one of the great things about the platform. Gives you the ability to create pretty much an endless number of layouts. And you can see I've got a bunch of them here that I've built over the last year. I pretty much stick with the layout that you just saw me on, the 2-chart layout, and then my popper dropper layout, which is the one that I use quite a bit. I use mainly the new popper dropper pretty much every day. The 2-chart I use right before the market open, and then I go to this layout. Now you won't see all my charts because off to one of my other screens will be the 5-minute chart. So I use a 1, 3, and 5-minute. You can see the 1 and 3 on 2 different stocks. The software allows me to click on either a stock in the watch list to load up into the overview, or if we type on the chart, we can just start entering a symbol and hit enter. It'll load it that way as well. So there are 2 different ways to load. Typically what I do is I look at the combination of things. I look at 1 and 3 minutes for either an up arrows or down arrows, depending if I'm going to go long or short. I look at where it is in comparison to the daily pivots, the Fibonacci pivots, as well as the DMARC pivots. I also typically put in the first 15-minute Fibonacci extensions to see where we are in relation to those. My 1 minute, I use parabolic stop and reverse. My 3 minute, I use Bollinger Bands. And then also look at volume weighted average price. That's to help find potential targets. So you'll notice like right now on Cigna, so we got an up arrow. We're actually into our third up arrow on the 1 minute. Let me expand this shot. So we had our first up arrow right down at the bottom. Then we got a second up arrow, and now we're into the third. I would be chasing at this point. The 3 minute gave an arrow about 3 intervals back. Definitely would be chasing. It's already moved $1 since we got that 3 minute arrow. It also bounced right off the bottom of the Bollinger Band right down here. So we kind of had a great entry point right there. Bottom of the Bollinger, we got a 3 minute arrow, and then boom, dollar move. That's kind of what I like to look for. I look for things like that. And then if I throw on top of that, if I go in and look at the first 15-minute fib levels, I could see if I was approaching a Fibonacci level. And even though I didn't quite get there, you'll see that we were just off of the 1618. We were, well, a little ways away, but it wasn't too far. So this would be too late for me, way too late. I would be chasing, and I don't like to chase. Let's just I'm just going to go through stocks on my overview here and see if we have anything that looks interesting. Actually, Apple. So I've got the DMARC pivot low right here on the 1 minute. On my 3 minute, I have Fibonacci pivot, which is this red line. And then let me measure the first 15-minute fib. And while we're doing this, again, if there's any specific questions any of you have, please don't hesitate to ask. Like I said, I'm here for you guys, and whatever I can do to help. In the meantime, if there are no questions, I'm just going to continue to look for some trade ideas and kind of just go step by step through that process. So right now, you'll notice that Apple is sitting on the center Bollinger. That's this line right here. That's the center Bollinger on the 3 minute. The Fibonacci pivot, and then we're getting a 3 minute that's starting to bounce. The 1 minute is also bouncing, but we don't have our confirmation arrow yet, and our parabolic stop and reverse has not shifted direction yet. The other thing we also like to watch out on the 1 minute is for overbought and oversold territory. We did not get oversold on Apple yet. And really, I mean, it doesn't have to get oversold. It's just when everything kind of lines up, it does, I feel, make it a better trade. You know, if you get oversold, if you see the shift in the PSAR, if you get the up arrow, if you know, when everything lines up, that's the ideal trade. If it doesn't line up, everything doesn't line up, you can still take the trade. It's just a little bit riskier. That's all. And the things you can do to offset that risk might be take a smaller position or not take the trade, or give it maybe, you know, a smaller position with a little additional wiggle room. All right, you'll see that green arrow just popped in. So it just disappeared. So it won't stay until that interval completes. If it doesn't come back in the next few seconds, then we won't have an official cross. And so now we're getting a down arrow again. So this is where you have to be cautious when you're getting these kind of tightened up moves back and forth. See how it just turned and dumped? That's why you want those confirmations. You really want the multiple confirmations to give the ideal trade signal. So we don't have it yet. The Cigna was a perfect entry had we been watching it. And look where it is now. It's all the way up to the top of the Bollinger Band. So we got a signal down here off the bottom of the band with the up arrow, and it went over $1 from that point. We weren't watching it. You know, that was a beautiful move up. We just happened to not be there in time. But that's definitely what I like to see. And then knowing that it hits that top of the band, you can tighten your stop up, protect your profit. All right, I'm going to move Apple down here because I want to still keep an eye on it. So I'm going to move it to the lower window, and then I'm going to start looking on some of the other charts and see if we can find something else. And we might not, you know. You know, when you get into the tail end of the day, especially after this kind of crazy day, we've seen a lot of volatility. What's funny is we've seen a lot of volatility, yet the VIX hasn't done much. The VIX is relatively flat. BABA had a great midday sell-off, but now it's just gone sideways. We don't want to mess with that. Facebook coming up off of lows. Not going to worry about Google. Boy, Nvidia, we had a great short earlier, and it ended up missing a lot of the move, and then really missed another entry point a little later in the morning. Whoops. Right off of this top up here, top of the bands, 3-minute curled down. That was a big reversal. Oh, and look what Apple just did. It just cracked lower. So good thing we were patient. Now we could consider CI here for a short. We've got a 1-minute down arrow. We're coming up off the top of the Bollinger Bands. The first 15-minute, it didn't quite get there. We do have the parabolic stop and reverse has changed directions. We don't have a 3-minute arrow yet, so that's the risk factor. No 3-minute arrow. But we have a confirmed 1-minute. That's a lock confirm with the parabolic stop and reverse in full play. What I'm going to do is I'm going to stage an order. I'm just going to set a market order there. It won't trigger until I click the check button. This way I can be ready if I get some other confirmation or something else that helps me to consider an entry. And you can see we just got an up arrow now, so it's bouncing. And this is why I said when you wait for a secondary confirmation, now you can see, look, we lost that green arrow, and now we're starting to get a 3-minute down arrow. So once we get that confirmation, that would be a better entry spot for a short. And we've got room. We've got $1 plus of wiggle room to go back down. So right now we would be basing this off of a couple different factors. 1 and 3 minute clear lines reversal, 3-minute coming down off the top of the Bollinger Band, 1 minute parabolic stop and reverse shifting direction. We're not in overbought territory, so that's a little bit against us. We're running towards the last 30 minutes of the day. Could be a little bit against us. So again, you just take a smaller position. You're going to see what this 1 and 3 minute do here. I like that we're getting a second down arrow on the 1 minute. That second arrow could lock in here in less than 10 seconds. If that does lock, I'm going to go ahead and take it. Actually, I'm going to go ahead and enter here. So I'm short 174.52 on CI. I got the lock on the second down arrow on the 1 minute. I still have my 3 minute in play. It did not undo itself. It has another 40 seconds, and this is the nice thing about having this countdown clock. It tells you what time frame you're on, 3 minute. It tells you how much time's left before the interval closes. So we need to, now it bounced back up. Oh, here we go, pushing down again. All right, we've got 11 seconds, 10 seconds. This should close with a down arrow unless it jumps really big in the next second. Boom, okay. So we have the confirmed 1 and 3 minute down arrow. We have a second down arrow on the 1. We have the parabolic stop and reverse. We're off the top of the band. We've got wiggle room, and that's one thing you want to look for is, where can it go? First point that it's probably going to get to, for me, I'm looking at this 14140 institutional fib level. It's right on the center Bollinger Band. So that's right around 174.10 to 13. From where we're at, that's about 40 cents potential. So I know I can risk at least 20 or 30 cents in the trade to make 40. If we get some aggressive selling at the end of the day, it could retest the lows. I mean, I don't know if it'll do that, but it is possible. No, now we're bouncing. This is not what I wanted to see. All right, I need to get my stop in. And I like to use, a bracket order so that I can put in a stop and a limit. I don't know how I feel about this. I don't like how it just turned and ripped right up um, against me. I'm going to give this a little bit of room. I'm going to put my stop above the 127. That's above the top of the band, above the fib level. That puts myself a little bit out of harm's way. It's a little deeper than I'd prefer to go. I probably should have just done maybe 200 shares here, especially being the end of the day. And then I'm gonna put my limit down along where this bottom was in case we roll back down and get a pretty good sell-off. I don't think it's going to happen. This was a little more aggressive than I thought on the bounce, and even the parabolic stop and reverse pretty much shifted just after my entry. See how it's now underneath? So entered here. The next, right after I entered, then we get an up, followed by the PSARs. But I don't know. We'll see. Sometimes you got to give it a little bit of extra room. Even Apple just took a big jump. It's like we all of a sudden, right at the close here, last 30, we're getting some end of day buying going on. And like I said before, this is not my favorite time of the day to trade. Any questions, guys? Any specific questions? All right, so it's kind of hindsight, but now that I look at the pattern, this looks like a bottoming pattern versus, a bounce back down. It looked like it's all right. It is what it is. It might still roll backwards here. Yep, there we go. Starting to pull back. Whew. See, I'm glad I put my stop above the Fibonacci level, because that's what held it. That 127 held it in place. And that's why you want to be looking at those different levels to help figure out where you can set stops. And, you know, I mean, that was clear because we had the top of the Bollinger Band and the 127. So I knew if I didn't go above that, I'd probably get stopped out. And that's definitely would have happened. If I would have given it 25 or 30 cents, I would have been dinked out pretty quickly. This way I put myself, you know, a little out of harm's way. And then now it's starting to move back in my direction. I just need that follow through and see it really push back down here into the close to make this a winner. Let's go back to the 1 minute. Yeah, even the PSAR, the parabolic stop and reverse, shifted back in our favor again. But what I'll do is if I can get a nice 20 or 25 cent wiggle room, then at least I can move my stop to break even, which means it needs to get down to the 14140. It needs to get down to 174.13. Then I can go to break even. And the only thing we have going against us is time right now. I don't know if we're going to have enough time for that to happen. Wow. Just jumped again. Well, it looked promising for a couple minutes. We had a 60-cent drop in 2 minutes from 175.20 all the way down to 174.60, and now we've bounced back 40 cents. 50 cents. CVS is rolling down, so that maybe signal will follow back over here, since CVS has just rolled back down. We saw a lot of these health-related stocks down on the news related to the White House killing this drug rebate proposal. Well, we're testing that fib level right now. We just hit the fib level, 127. Touched it and reversed. You'll notice on the far right side, you can't see much right now, but this little indicator right here, this it's a red bar right now. It measures buy and sell orders, So the bigger the redder it is, the more selling, or the greener, the higher green, the more buying. So good sign is that we just reverse strong on strong sells right off of that fib level. That's our positive. That's one thing we have in our favor right now. That was a strong reversal at the 127. So one thing I could have done is, had I started smaller, I could have started with 200 shares. And then when it came up and tested that 127 and reversed, I could have added another 200 shares just to get a better price, and knowing that that fib level is going to end up being potentially a good reversal point. Like I said, right now, the biggest negative we have is time. I don't know if we have enough time for this to peel back with 20 minutes to go in the trading day. The only thing that will save it is if we get the market pushing back towards session lows again, which I'm going to say are doubtful at this point. The S&P I'm watching on another window. It's been pretty bound up for the last hour, almost about hour and a half. It's been stuck in a tight range. The one thing I don't want to see is this thing pop, go just above the fib, hit my stop, and then dump in reverse. That would not be pleasant. That would be a plan A. I'm seeing a little bit of a pushback down in the S&P, so that might help the rest, the market come back down. And here we go. So CI, again, trying to push lower. We got another down arrow on the 1 minute. We got a parabolic stop and reverse shifting again, but when they just keep going back and forth like it's going right now, you know, you're just basically seeing us caught in a channel. All right, here we go again, trying to push down one more time. Let's go to the 3 minute. All right, actually the 3 minute looks a lot better. We got another down arrow, a fresh down arrow on the 3 minute after it hit that 127. So that's a very positive sign. Let me switch to a 5 minute. We don't have anything on the 5 minute yet. So if we can get a 5 minute down arrow, I think then we should see that acceleration down. That's the one last component that really solidifies this trade, would be that 5 minute. Which we might get here in just a moment. And we're almost back to even, about a dime away from break even. Kind of sweating this one out. let's see. I'm going to do this. I'm going to expand this window to there. Whoops. Hold on. That way we can just kind of focus on these two charts. Where every time I think we're going to get there, they just kind of rip it right back up. I'm wondering what is it that's at the 174.60 level that's fighting this? Because it's come down here a couple times and then just ripped right back up. And I don't know if it is. I was wondering if there was something, I mean, it could be that it just thinks that's a support line where it's finding intraday support now. That's a possibility. I don't know. I really don't know why each time that it's come down there, it's bounced. You can see that it bounced. Well, that was as soon as we got in. Came back down almost to even, bounced up, came back down just now, and then just ripped right back up. I do notice that right now that the markets are pushing back up again, so that's not helping. S&P is about to back out of that channel. So it was breaking down, and now we're breaking out. It's interesting though, just to kind of sit and watch these moves when something gets caught in a range, just like this right now, being caught in between the 127 and basically this 174.60s level. And I don't know I don't know if there's some orders sitting there. Maybe there's some buy and sell orders sitting out there. I'm not good at reading that level two, so it just keeps chopping back and forth between this 174.60s. I think this go through, if we don't break down, then it might be smart to just bail out and take a smaller loss. Sometimes that is the best decision. I look at it this way. If you see, here we go. We're just back to even. If you get into a trade because you saw something and then it doesn't work for whatever reason, here we go. All right, I'm going to be prudent and I'm going to move my stop to break even because this trade was just, look at it just cracked. It literally just cracked down. That's probably going to come back up and take me out, but I'd rather, let's see if I can get a dime out of this because 10 cents is better than nothing. All right, so I got 10 cents protected. We kind of got stuck in the mud and then it couldn't make up its mind. And then all of a sudden, thankfully it broke down. I need to see it get below that 14140 and then I can move my stop down a little bit further. Oh, it's going to come up and grab me. That's all right. All right. At least I didn't take a loss. Whew. sometimes you got to do what you got to do. And didn't make much, but you know, unfortunately, it just got stuck in the mud. We got lucky. We got that nice little reversal pattern where it finally broke down below that 174.60 that it was stuck at. But look how quick it just came right back up. So as I was saying, sometimes when you see something and you plan out your trade, if it doesn't do what you thought it was going to do, you technically have a failed trade. I thought it was going to roll over and break down, and instead it got stuck in the mud. So to take a small profit or a flat trade sometimes is the best decision. Right? You have to be able to be willing to adjust your plan, and that's what we did. You know, because we thought it could go lower, it didn't. So we had to make an adjustment. We got the opportunity to get out and save ourselves, which is important. I think that was great. That was actually a really nice example of kind of I mean, it wasn't a big profit, but at least it wasn't a flatter loser. And it was just a good example of trade management. Any questions? Any questions about that or anything else? That was fun. Okay. Got just a few minutes to go in the trading day. If there are no other questions, I'm probably going to cut this off a couple minutes early today. All right, guys. I appreciate y'all tuning in today. Again, this session has been recorded. Will be posted to our YouTube page. If you have any additional questions, you're welcome to email me, kip@equity-alerts.com. And Club, Metro, Mr. B, see you guys in the webinar tomorrow. Have a great afternoon. Thanks for tuning in, and I'll see you guys tomorrow. Bye-bye.